Hi friends, welcome to WebChamp. In this video, I'm going to discuss what is the map function, filter function, and reduce function in Python. So as we know that Python supports the functional programming, and if you want to test the functional programming capabilities, so these three built-in functions can be used. These functions are mostly used with the iterables like list, tuple, string, even set and dictionary, we can say. And it allows you to apply the functions or expressions to the element in a shortest, we can say, the concise and expressive manner. Okay. So in simple word, if I say whenever you have to apply the another function, what are the functions which are already created for the sum purposes, if you want to apply that functions on any of the iterables items, okay, you can use these three functions. So now question is when to use map. Okay, so whenever you have to apply a given function to all the items in iterables, okay, whenever you have to apply a given function to all the items of iterables, okay, and a new iterable, any type of new iterable with the result, we can say that, or and returns, I can say returns a new iterable. Okay, this is where map function is applicable. Now how to use the map. Okay, so we will see how to use. At the very first place, what I will do, let's say I have to find out the square of each items of list. So I have a list is equal to, let's say, 1 2 3 4 5. Now we can get the squares of these by simply using the list comprehension and all, but here what I want is what I wanted to do is I have to apply the functions. So you have to write the functions which will return us the square of given number. Okay, and I will say return x into x. Okay, so this will return me a square. Obviously this is what the function we have to apply. And let's say you would like to use the map function, so I will say squared list is equal to, so what I will do, I will say squared list is equal to, I will use the map function, and if I open this method, so here you can see that it is asking you for the function name that will be mapped with the each item of list or whatever the iterable you will pass. So I will pass function name as a square. Okay, oh, you just have to pass the function name, you don't need to call that function. And I will say square of L. So what it will do for me, it will go and return the list of squares of all these list items. So now if you want to see the result, okay, for I in, I need to iterate because this will return a object. Okay, and to see the values we need to iterate through that. Okay, if I run this, you can see that it will return a square of 1 is 1, square of 2 is 4, square of 3 is 9, square of 4 is 16, and square of 5 is 25. So this is how it works. Not only this, but if you want to do any kind of concise operations, you can use the map function. There is one more way to do this. Instead of using and defining the functions whenever we have to do this kind of simple task, we can use the lambda function. So here, instead of square function, we can simply say lambda of x, and that function is going to return us x into x, right? So this is what the definition, and this function even does the same job. So lambda functions are useful whenever you have to pass one function as an argument to the another function to perform the some simple task, which can be meaning the output can be achieved in the single line expression. So their lambda function is useful. So now if I run this code again, you can see that I'm not using square function. Instead of that square function, I'm using lambda function, but still I'm getting the same output as I was able to get the earlier. Okay, so now let me clear the screen. Now this is about the map function. So next is filter function. So now question is when to use the filter function. Okay, so whenever you have to filter the data based on some conditions, so in that case we can use the filter function, but filter function requires a boolean value. Okay, so filter function construct an iterator from element of an iterable for which function returns true. Okay, so what it is going to do, let's understand. Okay, I'm going to use the another function called even number. Okay, so I have to find out the even numbers from a iterable, so I will say even. Okay, now next is if I use this, if I pass the single value as x, and in simple statement if I say return x mod 2 is equal to 0. Okay, so this expression will return as a boolean value, and this value will be used to identify what should retain in our final output in filter function and what should be filtered out. Okay, so what I will do, I will use these. Okay, let me bring this on the top. Okay, so here this function I have created. Now I will create a filtered list, and I'm going to use the filter function here. So I have to pass the function name which will return the boolean value. So I will say even is my function name, and I have to apply that function on this list. That's why I passed list variable here. Okay, so again this is going to return us the object. You can see that it returns an iterator yielding those items of iterable for which function item is true. If function is none, return items that are true. Definition you can simply say, and here you can say that it is returning a filtered object, and whenever you have to see the result of object, so I will say for I in filtered list. So whenever you get output as an object, you need to loop through that. Now I don't want to print this squared list and all, so I will comment out this, and to avoid the errors I will say pass. Okay, now only this output will get printed. So if I come back and if I run the code, you can see that it is returning me even numbers which is true, 2 and 4, right? So those two numbers are getting filtered based on the conditions. Even this can be also achieved with the help of lambda function. So what you can do, you can say lambda x we are going to pass, meaning this is what the argument, and next is here I have to say x mod 2 is equal to 0. Same output I will get with the help of lambda function also. So lambda is again function, anonymous function that always return a value. You don't need to write the return word and all, because it's default for the lambda function. It always return. You cannot say print and all in the lambda function. It always return the value. Now next is reduce function. So what is a reduce function? Whenever you have to perform the operation, kind of meaning some rolling computations to sequential pair of values. Let's say you have to do the multiplication, addition of the list item. So in that case, reduce method is help us to produce the result. It will reducing the iterables to a single accumulated result, single value. To produce single value. If you want to take the sum of all these numbers, you can use the reduce function. If you want to perform the any other kind of operation that will yields to the single value, you can use the reduce method, but you have to build the logic for that. So now here I'm going to define one more function. Define. So that function is going to return us the sum of two numbers. So I will say sum of x comma y. Obviously, to perform the summation operation, what we need is we need two numbers. That's why I used x and y. Now, if you want to apply this function to get the sum of all the numbers in the list, so you can use reduce function. To use the reduce function, you need to import that function. That function is not by default available. So I will say from function tools, import reduce. Okay. So this is what the function you need to import. And now reduced list is equal to, here I'm going to use the reduce function. So if I open this function, you can see the definition. It is asking for the sum, meaning the function name. So I pass function name as a sum because that function is going to perform some operations to reduce the number. Later you have to pass the list, and after that you can pass the initialization, meaning let's say you are performing the summation. So if you want to add 100 in this number, so you can pass initial value that will be automatically getting added to this. If you don't want to do add something, you can specify 0 also. Okay. And now if I try to print this, okay, this is not going to return the, okay, here you can see that return type of this reduce function is a value, so it is not going to return an object, so we don't need to apply a loop. Again, here I'm going to comment out that because I don't want to print the earlier functions output, so I wanted to see the output of this reduce function only. If I come back and if I run this code, you can see that it is returning me 15. Let's say I would like to add 100 to this result. So I can specify initial value and you can get the output as 115. So this is how map function, reduce function, and filter function can be used in Python to test the capabilities of functional programming with Python. So with this, I would like to conclude this video. I hope you like the content of this video. Thank you so much for watching the video. Have a nice day. Please do not forget to share this video with your friends.